Hey Doobs, how we doing? Welcome to another super awesome, fantastic edition of Final Thoughts with Doob Radical. Really like doing these sit-down talks and kind of have my own little review of the game. We just started doing these. We had Resident Evil 3, and now we're on to the second one with Nioh 2. This actually started the Journey Continues category for me, so I'm going to try not to be biased, but this game does mean a lot to me. And, well, another Soulsborne-like experience in the books here, Doobs and Doobettes. I think this gameplay you're going to be seeing here, it's going to be looped a little bit, but I think it's a great representation of how you'll be playing the game and the ebb and the flow. And I'm going to get into that a little bit here, but just bear with me, enjoy the gameplay, and let's just talk about, what we thought of Nioh 2. Well, like I said, another Soulsborne experience in the books here. It's always interesting to compare these Souls-like games that aren't developed from software. I gotta say just this little bit about From Software. They developed a whole new genre when they created Demon Souls. And yeah, they've been creating games, and there's been games like this before. But they really brought it over from Japan over the States. Demon Souls just took off, and fans just wanted more and more. And From Software can only make so many of these types of games. And other developers started to take the helm here of creating this grueling, hard, fast-paced, tough as nails gameplay. But definitely, let's just say it right here, it's worth it. These games are great, and Team Ninja actually developed this game, and they did not miss a beat here. This is Nioh 2. This is a prequel to Nioh 1 that came out in 2017. And there's a bunch of new gameplay features here that are very much expanded upon from the first game. So I think most people, if they get this game, they'll know what they're getting themselves into. Especially this being the prequel. But for those who are new to the series, most likely will find fun here. It's just so much polish from the first one, and I know sometimes people miss games, but they can come around for the sequel. And this is no exception here. I had a great time. Let's just start saying up. I had a great time with this game. And yeah, let's just really talk about some of the pluses here. I was actually really surprised at the cutscenes, and we'll get one later a little bit. Just want to really show off all the game here. Motion captured really well. Great presentation. The first one was really pretty. I wasn't, again, I don't really play these games for the story all too much. And this is a little bit more drawn out than something like a Dark Souls. There is actually a story here, a storytelling, betrayal and redemption, and really leading up to the first game here. But it is more of a cohesive story. And I do like games with more of a cinematic feel. I do like Dark Souls, and I don't mean to make too many comparisons here, but I think it's just nice to have a base and to kind of talk about other games similar, just to maybe convey a little bit more to you what this game is about. It's got that gameplay, tough as nails. Well, you'll have to be learning your enemy over and over and over again. And that's why I showed you this video here. This is a boss of me just trying to take down this guy. And eventually, yes, it is really intimidating at first. And if you know these types of games, you know what you're getting into. But it is very rewarding when the game gives you a bunch of tools to use. And I've even gotten much better than what you're seeing here. This is looking pretty scrubby to me as it is. In just learning the patterns of your enemies. And yeah, it can feel a little unfair at times, but the game promotes further exploration with submissions to level up and a lot of mechanics to greatly improve the experience in progression. And they give you awesome parry stuff. And again, kind of feeling a little bit like a Sekiro a little bit with learning your enemy, drawing them out, and exploiting their weaknesses. It really makes it a great time to just really get to know the game and feel the game. And by the end, I think this took me about 30 hours to really get a grasp and have a good game time here. And it just feels the content-wise, and I'm just talking about the story here. There is a bunch of submissions that, yeah, you can not really play should you just want to kind of breeze through the story, but it'll be hard to breeze through. You'll still have a challenge, and there is a recommended level setting on each mission, and you can even play with friends. I'm just going to touch base on that. You can summon your friends with in-game items, of course. So there is that aspect of calling for help, and even the acolytes are spread across. But there is a give and take here. You got to fight some people to earn coins of respect, if you will, to summon this help. So it does feel really fair in that sense. And there's many different builds in this game and tutorials. This is more expanded upon RPG from the first game, where you will be building your own character. And, you know, they feel a little loosey-goosey in the cutscenes, kind of like if you played Monster Hunter World. But that's okay here. There's a great finale here. I'm not going to spoil anything, but it really does tie into the first game very well, this being a prequel. And I really enjoyed some of the story beats here. But just talking about pure gameplay, it's tough, it's challenging, it's great. And Team Ninja is no stranger to high-paced action. They've worked on games like Ninja Gaiden and Heavenly Sword, actually. So they really took this, I'm just going to say, Dark Souls, Soulsborne genre, made it their own, much more faster paced, and I appreciate that here. I sometimes get a little more frustrated with the clunkiness of some other games in this genre, and I love the fast pace, high-paced action while still giving you fair opportunities to take bosses and just regular enemies down. Yeah, the story was much more engaging, and I like the mix of somewhat real history here. I'm not a big history buff, but it seems like there is some real-world ties here to maybe make it a little more interesting for some story-goers. And I like how the missions are broken up. It's not just one big main hub world. You have to select your own missions, and I do appreciate that kind of the change-up here. It's easier to find your directions on where to go. A mini-map for me is always appreciated. It just makes for a much smoother experience, especially if you're a more casual, hardcore player. You still got to be a little hardcore to jump into this game, but once you learn, it is really just a game of chess. As you can see in some of the gameplay here, you get better, you learn the movements, you know when to attack, you know when to stay back, and again, it feels fair, so that's what makes this gameplay a huge plus. Yeah, and there's a lot of good online aspects. Again, this feels like a complete package with its submissions, its content, and I gotta give just a real quick note about I did get the special editions for this game, and along with the steelbook and cool packaging, Team Ninja did kick us the. This is also produced by Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Studio, by the way, or Koei Tecmo, I should say. Not Japan Studio, but they did give us the season pass, and it doesn't feel gypped on any content as far as DLC. This is how you do DLC done right, with true, honest additions to the game. And again, we haven't seen it here yet, but I'm sure it will be very good. The first game's DLC seemed worth the price here. I didn't personally play it, but I did like the first game. Love the second game here, and as you'll see, in this game view here, I'll eventually get this guy, and it just feels so good. The reward is probably the best part to this game. I was very addicted to the gameplay here, wanting to know what happened next, wanting to see that next big boss. And again, the graphics here are very well. The HDR is represented very nice, and it just seems like a great overall improvement from the first game. I feel like this game was not rushed. The first one did come out in 2017. It's 2020 now, so there's some great development time here. And yeah, sure, there are a bunch of more reused assets. It seems like developers love doing that, much like the RE3 to RE2 remakes, where there's same levels. Oh man, that damn spa level always gets me. I can't believe we saw it here. It's a great mix-up of gameplay, and you still do have some exploration in the levels. But it is nice that there is a map, and there's a bunch of cool little secrets to find within the level itself. It feels like everything you really do is rewarding to a certain degree. Yes, there is a lot of equipment in this game, and you will be spending a lot of time sorting through the hubs and the screens and selling off everything to really do make this more of a smoother if you do keep up with your items. Which will make you do is you do have a limited inventory space. But if you really find your own build, you'll really get into your own here with this game. And I think being more confident with the build, and there is certain in-game items you can use to respec your character and start fresh should you want to go that route. So it really does feel like Team Ninja thought about the tinier details of this game to make it accessible to maybe some people that are turned off. But yes, there is a lot to take in here, but it is a little more hand holding as far as explaining what to do than games like Dark Souls. So I think that this aspect will make people wanting to get into these kind of games more easier for people than playing another game like Dark Souls, where it kind of just says, hey, go for it, this is what you do, and just kicks you off the boat. This game does promote a little bit of grinding to really, like, again, make it a smoother experience, but that's okay. There is some really cool side and sub missions here with different levels that you don't see in the campaigns. There is a lot of reused assets, but there's also some things. It's fun to see reskinned enemies and yokai, and again, the yokai are awesome additions to the enemies here, along with more human-based foes like the one you're seeing here, but does have, you know, the demon side with them here. But yeah, there's just there's a lot more positives here than negatives, and again, it just feels like a very overall complete package with its online elements. The community for this game, it kind of seems like this game went under the radar a little bit. But overall, the reviews have been generally positive, and I loved every minute of this game. Couldn't wait to get for it. It's really up to you if you're going to want to play this game to its entirety or not, because there is a lot of content that is reused. There is a hard mode once you beat the game with added loot and good bonuses. So it is kind of a looter shooter in that aspect, but there is more time after the base game, plenty more time, especially playing with friends, and plenty of other little side goodies. And there will be DLC down the road for this game, which is good to know. And you know, given the state of things, we will see how fast we get these and how long you're really willing to wait for this DLC. But this game will surely give you enough content up until that point. And just really looking at this game, I could not recommend it anymore to people who are really looking for that Souls-like experience. And we'll see when Elden Ring comes out, the George R. R. Martin Miyazaki mix, and that game should be coming out sometime this year in 2020. But yeah, just a little bit coming off of the Surge 2. I always like these side projects where it's clear that the developer knows where the source material kind of came from, and we do have to really respect the establishment that From Software has created with these very high intense, very high polished, high rewarding games with really great stories depending on how you want to play it out. Where is a game like this has full blown cutscenes like the one we're seeing here with real more character interaction and a more cohesive story, whereas in Dark Souls you have to read a lot of the text for the items and kind of do a lot of background check to get a lot of the story to really make it a full-fledged tale here. But the lore here, either way, regardless how it's represented, is there. And I enjoyed seeing the story up until the end. Very cool character design, some great little story bits. And yeah, it's not just all run and gun as you're seeing here. There's some very good character. I'm not gonna say character development, more just story set pieces to tie the game together. But yes, folks, before we get too in here, I'm gonna give this game a 9 out of 10. I really extremely do highly recommend this game. I don't want to give too much of a high scores, but the quality of games here has been coming out, and like Resident Evil 3 just felt a little lackluster on the content, where this game feels like a complete package. The gameplay is there. There's only very minor nuances and things that make the game a little bit harder as itself with quitting out of missions, but overall a great, amazing experience. And there's really not much that set this game back if you're willing to go up to the challenge. I think for the people new to the series, you will need a little bit of practice here if you've never played these games before. And definitely check out, there's plenty of other ones in the genre like Sekiro, Bloodborne, and even the Surge games plays. There's many different choices here, but thank you so much, Dubes and Dubettes. This was a final thoughts of Nioh 2. Go out and get this game. It's great, and of course, we'll be right back.